you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Everything is
see, man.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've been on
that sounds good.
You've been on the road a lot. Do you spend time at home at all?
Not as much as I would like, but yeah, it's been insane. And we've done 93 shows, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're making up for lost time. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Is
We
it
have to.
is it difficult to be away from home when you're on the road, or it's something that you just enjoy doing a lot?
I do enjoy it, of course. We have a blast. It's yeah, I love it. I love performing. I love meeting people, but I love being at home as well. But I've been at home for 2 years, which has been super sweet and lovely. But it's it's a constant like balance. This year is going to be different because of all the tours that were already kind of booked and shows already booked, and now we have just got to do it. But normally, I find like I try to strike a good balance between that. Be at home as much as possible, but also do short, intense tours and then come back and.
Yeah, and the Halo effect. Let's start because it's a band with a bunch of guys that been known each other for many years. When did you guys start talking about doing something again? Because I'm sure it was just one of those things that you probably just met at a festival or like in a pub, and you said like, "Hey, maybe we should do something."
I mean, of course. I mean, and that happens all the time. At least back in the day, it was something like you always drinking beer. You're going like, "Hey, man, let's do something. It would be fucking cool." And in this case, it was we were in Stockholm at like the Grammy Awards, and us and In Flames and a bunch of other bands were nominated. So we were just hanging out, drinking, and on the train back, me and Nicholas started talking about like new cool albums that we loved and festivals we wanted to go to and all that stuff. And Nicholas said, "Oh, it would be cool to do something one day," And I was like, yeah. And I've had that in the back of my mind. And then, we always kind of send music to each other and, recommend new albums and, like new cool vinyl editions of classics and all that stuff. And so then, like, in the middle of 19, Nicholas was just like, I'm working on something. Like, do you want to be a part of it? Like, or at least you want to like just sing on it a little bit, see if it works out. I was like, yeah, sure, it would be great. Let's try it out. And I did, and he sent me 2 songs, and it sounded great. And I was like, oh, cool. And I recorded some vocals right here. Just wrote some bullshit lyrics and screamed it a little bit, and then sent it to him. And it was like, I love it. This is cool. This can become something. And then all of a sudden, I get this call from Peter, and he was like, "You do something with Nicholas, like, can I be in?" And I was like, yeah, sure. And maybe Daniel too. And I was like, really? All right, cool. And then maybe Jesper too. And it's like, okay, fuck it, this is gonna be fun. So it was that easy and that simple kind of. But it just felt natural. And then of course, me being like in the mid-production of the latest Dark Tranquillity album, I was like, I know I'm not gonna have time for this, but at least now we can demo stuff, and maybe down the line we can do something with this. But then, of course, as we were finishing up the recording of the DT album, the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, like, there's nothing in the schedule in the calendar, so we can do anything basically. And that's when this became more serious, and all of a sudden, like, we could actually focus on it, and that was awesome.
Yeah, and when you guys decided, okay, let's make an album, was with the intention of doing live shows as well, to tour, or was just the idea was like, let's make an album and let's see what happens?
Yeah, at first, like when we just did demos, it was trying to figure out like what we want to do and what it should feel like. But pretty early we felt like, this is serious, let's take this seriously. We talked to some cool people that we wanted to work with, and we started kind of, coming up with a plan to how to do it, and I was like, I'm going to be super busy, and, so this has to be done right. Otherwise it cannot be done. But so I think we managed to find a cool way of, we're going to record, and we're going to do festivals, and we're going to do tours, and we're going to start the next album already this year, I think, because we have tons of material already. So it's just a matter of getting it right. And of course, it's going to be a lot of work for me, but I'm kind of ready for it, and I'm looking forward to it really. So it's going to be cool anyway. But yeah, the plan was to kind of get out there and do cool shows, fun stuff, not tour a whole year, that kind of stuff, like not go crazy, because part of the reason why Peter and Daniel stopped kind of playing, because that they wanted to focus on family and being home and doing other stuff, so it's not going to be insane like that. So it's going to be for fun when we feel like it, and in the best possible way, and that's the plan. So it's going to be cool. Like we had our first show, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago at Sweden Rock Festival here in Sweden, and it's the biggest festival here, and it was fantastic. Like playing on the main stage without people ever not having heard the album even. It's nuts. It was insane, but super, super cool. So we're off to a very, very good start. Couldn't be happier,
And when you guys released the first single, obviously you caught everyone by surprise. That was the plan. And did the reaction, because the positive feedback was immense, as far as I remember, it was like a freaking snowball growing and growing. Did that surprise you as well, or your expectations were a bit low when it came to that?
I don't know. I knew it was going to be interesting, and people were going to dig it, and we knew we had a song that we thought people were going to dig, and we made a cool video and all that stuff. So I knew it was going to be interesting, but I didn't expect everybody to kind of freak out about it. And so it was really cool to see, and the level of kind of positivity and fucking happiness that this is going on. And I think it was needed, during the pandemic too, like something to look forward to, awesome, that kind of thing. So that was part of the reason why we did it as well, kind of like did it early like that. And it's been amazing. Like we can tell, like, I mean, it's not like there's not any bands that sound like this out there, but I guess like what we wanted to focus on was to kind of capture the vibe and the mood and the feeling of the early 90s, like how we felt when we started bands, back then. And this is kind of like, we could have started this band in 92, but here we are 30 years later with tons of experience, and we can do it right. We can tell, like, the people we talk to and the fans that I've seen, all the comments, it's like, wow, this is kind of like Gothenburg metal done right, because obviously, when you're a band that, like with DT, for instance, like, you start somewhere and then you constantly try to evolve and change and do all kinds of stuff to kind of reinvent yourself and stay relevant and be interested still in the music. Whereas this was kind of like, hey, this feels good. Go for it, let's not overthink anything, not second guess ourselves. And we never had to worry about expectations or what people are going to think, because when we were writing, like, no one was listening and we didn't have to worry. It's like there was no past, no future. It was just now. And that was really kind of rewarding and opened up to so many possibilities and a lot of creativity as well. So having that freedom, I think you can hear that on the album, that it's like just made because we love this kind of music, we love playing this kind of stuff, and it's very natural. Like this is the stuff that Niklas writes, it's the stuff that Jesper writes, and this is how Daniel and Peter play, and this is how I sing, and it's like we didn't have to do much more than that, in our opinion. Like this was just what we wanted to do. We wanted to be in a room together, in a studio together, and to create something, and basically just hang out and have fun, and talk about the good old days in the early 90s when we were stupid and kids and hung out at shows and all that stuff. So that was the highlight for me, just to just hang out and see them play together again, like see Niklas and Jesper, who never played together. Niklas replaced Jesper when he quit, so now they're kind of like bouncing off ideas and like doing super cool stuff, and I'm just sitting there in the studio going like, ooh, this is sweet, I love this.
You said obviously this band appeared when some of the members want more time with the family. They want like a less busy, life on the road, which is understandable in this day and age,
Sure.
But with the feedback that you guys are getting, you guys are going to do the tour with Machine Head and a Monomart.
Yeah.
Have you guys considered or thought like, what if this starts to grow more than we expect? Because you have Dark Tranquility.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought like, okay, what if this goes just beyond like what we expect?
Yeah, we're gonna have to be careful and write a really shitty second album or something like that if it goes that far. No, but it's yeah, we gotta, yeah, we have to kind of temper ourselves. Like, of course, we have a lot of offers already about tours and shows and all that stuff, and we're going to try to do as much as possible, but within reason and within kind of the realm of possibility. The other guys are saying like, yeah, I know maybe we want to tour more, but like you won't be able to. And I was like, yeah, well, I will have time. It's just, but I need a couple of weeks here and there to get home to the family. So it's a matter of like doing it right and finding the right kind of balance again. And but we're gonna do as much as possible, really. And yeah, look forward to it. We have all the possibilities. We're working with amazing people, and so everything is there. So it's just a matter of if an audience will find us, then we will come.
Yeah, and talking to you, it seems like I remember I have friends that started bands and they were all excited in the beginning, and you haven't so much experience as a musician. And you seem excited as a kid that started things.
No, but it sometimes feels like that. You're like, and at least that's. I always hope to feel like that when you do anything. When you start a new album because you have to be excited and try to kind of somehow recapture that sense of adventure and exploration and. As you had when you started in the beginning, and otherwise, what's the point? It has to feel fun, and I think, well, as I said, with Dr. Quility, like the reward is, and when you're able to kind of come up with something new and it feels fresh and it feels cool, whereas this was just like, hey, let's just play and enjoy it. And it was really like the good old kind of like when you rehearsed in a garage and you made demos, that kind of thing. That's what it felt like. And we tried to kind of recapture that vibe as well. Like we talked about it constantly. It was always on our minds, so yeah, but it's important. Otherwise, why are we doing this? Why are we traveling the world like for like a couple of rounds around the earth? If it's not fun, if it doesn't feel good, and this of course takes up all of our time and energy and all that stuff, but it's still worth it, because you're releasing something cool that people like, and also you get to see people and perform for people and all that stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've talked with a few bands, a few artists, and when it came to the pandemic, their time at home, they kind of realized that that's what they want to do more now than instead of going on the road for 9 straight months or whatever. But you don't seem, I mean, you like your time at home, you already said that. But but I see bands that because of the pandemic, it's like, okay, probably I should spend more time at home instead of on the road. But you want to go for it anyway.
Yeah, kind of. But it's more like it's been frustrating, like releasing an album and not being able to tour on it, and then of course like this. These last 2 years have been more productive than anything, just writing, recording, I recorded, 3 albums, an EP and also tons of other stuff like for video games and for guest vocals. And also I started another band that don't even have a name yet, but it's tons of songs as well. So it's just been constant writing and recording. Which is cool. You can do it from home. You're either in a studio that's really close. You're in a little, COVID bubble, with the friends in the band, and then you're home with the family. So it's been like challenging, but it's something that you always kind of miss, because there's always something around the corner, like, I'm going to leave next week for this tour or this festival or the studio session or whatever. And now finally there was nothing, and you can really focus on the work and not be stressed. And I think that gave way to a lot of creativity, just because without deadlines, you can just relax and enjoy the work and enjoy the time you spend on it, without like having this ticking clock, in the back of your head constantly. And I think that really helped, so. But I get it. Like it's either or, like I've met a lot of musicians, and I heard about a lot of musicians who were like, I didn't do anything, there's this time I was just like miserable, or I was really happy to just be home and just take care of other things, or you find something else, you start another job or whatever, like that's happened a lot too, but for me, I just doubled down on recording and writing, basically. So
and for the
dealt with it in different ways, I suppose.
Yeah, and for the Halo Effect album, Days of the Lost, how long did you guys take to record? Because you said you had Nicholas send you 2 songs, you recorded, and then it started to growing from there. How long did it take the whole process for this record? Do you have an idea?
Kind of. I mean, we even the demos were recorded like with Oscar Nilsson here in Create Studios in Gothenburg. So that's where Nicholas collaborates a lot with him, just to record cool demos. And then so then once we started doing real demos with Daniel and Peter and Jesper, and it's like we did it there in the studio as well. And so Oscar was with us the entire process, and then we started doing demos for all the songs. And we had tons of material. So and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now we do it again, but good this time, And it's like, okay, then we recorded everything again and made it real, So maybe we were in the studio. I think we recorded 6 months, but we were in the studio for 9 months or something like that in total. But since again, we didn't have any deadline or anything like that, and we had pretty much unlimited time to hang out there, and so we could take a couple of days off and then come back and all that stuff, which was really, really cool way of working. And so it was a pleasure to do it. Usually like recording processes is great, but it's also very stressful because you're constantly reworking songs and, like, we got 2 more weeks, better make this happen, But here was just like, we just do it. There was nothing, like we didn't have a date, we didn't have anything. So that was very, very cool.
So there is like no first takes on any of the songs, or there is some?
No, and it wasn't like a live recording at all. And we took our sweet time with it, but it was important to capture for me what I wanted. I wanted to hear Peter and Daniel play together. And I want to hear like all of them together, like in a room, that vibe. And I think we captured that because it sounds very much alive, and you can tell like it's like people who are very anxious to play are doing it, and that was something that we worked hard to kind of find, or capture rather, Yeah. So that was important to make it sound real and alive and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said like without the deadlines, you prefer like that. I'm the opposite. I need to be given a deadline to do something.
Well, I'm very much like that too in many ways. But like when you're working if it's just me, I need a deadline. But if it's with other people, it's easier. Then you can just like, so you're doing guitars a couple more days. Cool. Then I can relax or start working on stuff.
Yeah.
So when it's a collective kind of deadline, it's way easier. But to not have it, but for me, I needed to. Otherwise, I just goof off and do nothing.
Yeah. That's for me. I should have supposed to written a text for a festival, and it finished like 3 or 4 days ago. I still haven't finished it. I don't have a deadline, so I just
procrastination is real, my friend.
What was the first song that you guys finished and you were like, okay, we got this is good. This is going to be fucking great.
No, but it was the 3 first songs that we wrote were Feel What I Believe, Shadow Minds, and Gateways. And Gateways was probably the first because it came from an idea that started when me and Nicholas started talking, and we said like maybe we should do like a doom band, like a stoner rock band, something like that, because we both love it, and there are so many bands that we loved, that we share our love for, and so it's like maybe we should do that. So then he started writing some of that, and then once he finished the song or like had parts of it, then I started singing. He was like, no, let's keep it more up tempo. And then Peter changed like the whole mid section that became super cool. But that was the first song I think that we finished, and then and Shadow Minds as well. And once we recorded demos for that, we were like, all right, yeah, we're onto something here. This feels good. Like it's like it was the kind of deal where you get the mix from the studio, and I was like, I wanted to play it to everyone. Like, listen to this, we fucking came up with something cool. That excitement. Yeah. So that was a good start, and kind of gave way for kind of the continuation of the album. But we wrote way more material than we needed, so we had a lot of things to choose from and get a feel for what the album should be, and how it should feel, kind of listening through the whole thing and that kind of stuff. So. Yeah. But that's how it started.
Yeah, and the songs that you guys have left over, are they finished songs? Something that you can use for the follow-up record, or
close to it? And yeah, we definitely have a lot of material. And I know Nicholas is already working on a lot of stuff too, so that's not going to be a problem at all. Everybody's just excited. It's like, oh, we should write more, and it's like, and especially when we kind of locked down like the album, and Nicholas was still kind of like, oh, I have an idea. It's like, we don't need more songs now. He's like, wait, it's good. So yeah, the next album is not going to be a problem. It's just a matter of timing is going to be harder than the material.
Yeah, and now that everybody is on the road, I'm sure the offers for for instance, Dark Tranquility was just announced as a support for the Amorphis tour.
Yeah,
fall as well. I was like, okay, I have to go somewhere to see this tour.
Of course you do, of course. And I mean, it's this year is insane.
Yeah,
I think I'm doing 160 shows or something like that in total. So
yeah. And you guys have the tour with the Halo Effect, with Monomart and Machine Head. How long are you guys going to play on that tour?
It's probably like 40 minutes or something like that. So it's almost the whole album, basically. Something like that. So it's going to be so cool. I mean, it's a perfect tour to kind of show off this band and to kind of present ourselves for an audience, and and hang out with our friends from Monomart and Machine Head. So it's a dream tour to start this off.
Yeah, and
couldn't ask for a better one.
Yeah, you guys are playing Portugal as well, so it's going to be fun. I might go to Dublin and then see you guys in Lisbon, because I think the tour is too good not to see twice at least.
It really is. It really is, and there's gonna be. Yeah, a lot of madness, a lot of Vikings and dragons and all that stuff, and then just us like trying to figure out something. I'm dying to get to do that. It's going to be madness. Yeah. And then of course the Amorphis Elevated Tour is going to be super cool as well. Just like great bands, great package, and it's going to be a packed fucking fall. So many bands out there. It's going to be insane.
It's going to be hard to pick and choose, where to go. Because I look at my calendar, I have family in Ireland, so for me it's easier to have an excuse to go to Ireland and then see a show. So I always say, I know I'm going to see you guys, but, keep in mind that I have one show that I want to go. But it's going to be so freaking difficult to, just to pick a tour and just to try to see, But
it's already now, like here in Sweden, it's crazy. Like there's like 1 or 2 or 3 shows every week, like really great stuff. And of course, I'm missing tons of stuff because I know I'm going to be away. But then I get to see some cool stuff at festivals, even though we're just there for a day, that kind of stuff. So I'm lucky, of course, but it's also a lot of things that I just don't want to know about.
It's going to be insane. And, the Halo Effect, you said already, they have plenty of songs, and there's ideas flowing around. Do you plan to release the follow-up next year? Is that a planned set?
Yeah, I think so. If we can make it happen, it would be great. I mean, I think, yeah, we are ready for it, and it would be great to just have more material out there as well. To do more proper shows instead of just short, sweet ones. But so yeah, if we can make it work, we're definitely aiming for that. Like at least have something more out before the next summer.
That's cool. And you mentioned another band that doesn't have a name yet. What style is that? It's different from something
Very
you
different.
do.
Very different. Like I did my most brutal album I ever done with Grand Cadaver last year, and now I'm working on the softest, most mellow stuff. It's very, very, very melodic and cool. So yeah.
When can we expect to hear something about that? Whatever.
I don't know. We have tons of material, but nobody has time. Everybody in the band is super busy, and we're constantly on tour. So we just like text and go like, yeah, eventually there was going to be something, that kind of stuff. But it's fun too. It's fun.
Is it important to to keep trying different styles in a way when you're making music? Obviously, you have your style and your genre of music that you go to. But is it important sometimes to drift a bit from that to get probably a bit more inspired when you go back to Dark Tranquility, for instance?
Yeah, and I haven't really done that much before. I kind of decided, or I just like felt that I didn't need to. I didn't have the need because Dr. Tranquility can be very diverse. We do all the kind of stuff that I like. So it's not like I need to start another band just to kind of get that out of my system. And I always thought that, and I never have, here and there you do guest stuff with other bands that I like. But it was only like, what was it, like 3.5 years or something like that ago, in the beginning of 19, where I went like, I'm going to say yes to stuff because it's fun. Because now I'm going to take time to write and this kind of stuff, but I'm also going to say yes. If something comes up, I'll go, yeah, cool, I can do that. And that's led to, all of this cool stuff that I've been doing the last 2.5 years. Just really cool projects and cool kind of guest spots and cool projects that have been really challenged. And I've learned a lot from that, just because all of a sudden you're in a different kind of studio with a different producer, or you're with a different set of musicians. Yeah. And so that really, you learn a lot. And also you meet a lot of new people that probably you're gonna want to work with Dr. Tranquility as well. You branch out a little bit, and it's been really rewarding and fun and crazy and very cool.
Yeah, and to finish up, how did Matt HiFi ended up on as a guest on this record? How did that happen? Was just like
I've known Matt for a long time, and we all have like he's an awesome guy, and we were thinking about guests on the albums, like who should we bring? Like we can ask all of our friends here in Gothenburg. That would be kind of cool, like to do something like a tribute to the scene and all that stuff. But that would be kind of obvious. And so when Jesper wrote that song, "The Last of Our Kind," it really felt like this is kind of like a tribute to all the bands that we loved, like the early At the Gates. It has a lot of like the thrashiness of like Paganum and some of the bands that we loved from the early 90s in Gothenburg. And to the point where we were like, oh, we need an intro. And then we should use, like Jesper Jarl, who plays violin on the first At the Gates album, we should use him. And he wasn't available, so we got another guy. But it's very much like a tribute to that kind of stuff. And we were thinking like maybe we get Thomas, to sing or something like that. But then maybe that would be obvious too. So we're thinking like, but Matt knew about this band, and he was really excited. He wanted to hear stuff, and then we were like, yeah. And then I remember like when I started talking to him in the 90s somewhere, like at that point we were rehearsing, and I told him like, we rehearsed right next to At the Gates and right next to Dissection and right next to In Flames. Like we had this rehearsal rooms like right next to each other in a basement in town. And he was like freaking out, like, holy fuck, like all those bands are under the same roof. And it's like, bring a tape recorder and fucking record that shit. And he was such a, champion and like kind of like a fan of the style and the scene. And he's always been, so I figured like it would be the perfect guest, to have on this album that is very much kind of celebrating that sound and the whole vibe. So it was a lot of fun, and he was of course amazing. And I just sent him the songs like, hey, what do you feel like it should be cool? And he was like, oh yeah, anything I can do. And he recorded it in 2 seconds, and it sounded awesome. So very cool, very cool.
Cool.
Hopefully
right.
our paths will cross one day and we can do it for real on stage. But
yeah, well, that it's bound to happen probably next year, because I think it's going to be a packed summer as well. So, and
fuck yes,
it's going to be good. Right.
Yeah.
Mikael, thank you very much for your time. All the best for the Halo Effect.